Chapter 9. We are going to investigate equations and inequalities. An equation is a mathematical sentence stated that two quantities have the same value. A mathematical sentence states that two quantities have different values is called an inequality. Inequalities have the symbols not equal to, less than, and greater than. The table below shows these examples. So these are the symbols that we're looking for when we talk about inequalities. When we talk about equations, they have an equal sign. So let's think about some things. Just as sentences with words can be true or false, so can equations and inequalities. Consider these 6 sentences. Which of these sentences above are true and which are false? They're also below here as well, so we have some extra writing room. Find a way to make the false sentence true by changing or adding just one word, symbol, or number. So let's look at the first one. Stop signs are yellow. Well, that is false because stop signs are not yellow, they're red. So if I needed to change this, I could put the word not. Stop signs are not yellow in the sentence, and then that could make it true. The sun is hot. Well, yes, that is a true statement, so there's no need to change anything. Alaska is south of Texas. Well, if you know your map, Alaska is actually north of Texas, so that would be a false statement. Again, we could add the word not. Alaska is not south of Texas, or we could change the word south to north, because Alaska is north of Texas. Here we have some mathematical ones. 4 equals 32 divided by 8. Well, that is a true statement. 32 divided by 8 is 4. 5 times 6 is greater than 6 times 5. Well, that's a false statement because the community property tells me I can multiply in any direction and get the same answer. So I would want to change that symbol to an equal sign because they are equal. And the next one says 5 times 4 is equal to 27 minus 3. Well, 5 times 4 is 20, and 27 minus 3 is 24. So I would need to change that to a less than sign because that is a false statement. Now, these sentences below are false. How do we make the sentences true? By changing one symbol or one number. Okay, we can only change one thing, so how can we do it to make them true? Well, first we have to figure out what we have. Well, we have 17 plus 5. Well, 17 plus 5 is 22. And then we have 3 squared, which is 9, plus 12 is 21. Well, we know that 22 is not less than 21, so we could just reverse the symbol. We could say that 17 plus 5 is greater than 3 squared plus 12. How about number 2? 14 plus 5. Well, that's 19. And 12 plus 11 is 23. Again, this is not true. They are not equal. So we can change that equal sign. We could say that 14 plus 5 is less than 12 plus 11. That would make the sentence true. Remember, there's more than one way to change these. You may come up with a different way than I do. The next one is 23 minus 11. Well, 23 minus 11 is 12. And 22 divided by 2 is 11. So again, they are not equal. How do we change that? Well, in this case, maybe I want to change a number this time. What if I changed 11 to 12? What if I said it's 23 minus 12 equals 22 divided by 2? Well, then I have the same answer. They both equal 11. So I could change it that way. For the next one, it says 6 times 5 is greater than 4 times 7 plus 8. Well, 6 times 5 is 30. PEMDAS tells me to do parentheses and multiplication first. So that would be 4 times 7 is 28 plus 8 is 36. Again, we know that 30 is not greater than 36. So we could just change the sign. 6 times 5 is less than 4 times 7 plus 8. And we really don't need the parentheses there, but we could put them there because PEMDAS tells us I'm going to multiply first anyways. Now let's look at some more. Tell whether each sentence is true or false. If false, make it true by replacing the equal sign with a less than or greater than sign. Well, if we look at the first one, 5 plus 13 equals 2 plus 4 squared plus 3. Well, first we have to decide, well, 5 plus 13, that's 18. So we can put an 18 up here. And 2 plus 4 squared plus 3, following PEMDAS, make sure I do the 4 squared first, which is 16, plus the 2, which is 18, plus 3 would give me 21. We know that this is false statement because 18 does not equal 21, and I could change this. I could change the equal sign to a less than sign. For number 6, 7 plus 2 times 3 equals 6 times 2 plus 1. Well, follows PEMDAS rules. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 7 is 13. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So this statement is true. We don't need to do anything to it. For number 7, 24 divided by 5. Well, it's going to be 4 point something because 25 divided by 5 is 5. So I know it's 4 point something. I would have to get out my calculator to find the exact number that it's going to be. But I do know that 2 plus 3 is 5. So I know that this is 4 point something in here because it's not high enough to be 5. So I can say that it is less than. It is a false statement. So this again would be a less than. Number 8 is a little tricky because now I got some fractions. I got 2/5 equals 1/2. I can do two things. I can find a common denominator, or I can just change them to decimals. 2/5 is the same as 0.4, and 1/2 is the same as 0.5. Well, we can see that that is a false statement then, because 0.4 is less than 0.5. So I would need to add the less than symbol in there. Here's number 9, 0.25 and 1/4. Again, I would change 1/4 to a decimal. 1/4 as a decimal is 0.25. So this is a true statement. They equal each other. I don't need to do anything. Let's look at the next one. 8 plus 12 divided by 4 equals 8 plus 12 divided by 4. Well, we have to follow PEMDAS rules. 12 divided by 4 is 3, plus 8 would be 11. Now on the other side, still following PEMDAS rules, I would have to add 8 plus 12 first to get 20, and divide that by 4 is 5. So this is not a correct statement, so I would have to say this is false, and we know that 11 is greater than 5. I would have to change that. So explain the difference between an equation and an inequality. Well, an equation, and make sure you're putting this in your own words, an equation has an equal sign, when an inequality would have a greater than, less than, or not equal sign to it. So if I wanted to give some examples here, I would just say that for an equation, I could say 4 plus 5 equals 9. That's an equation. For an inequality, I could say 4 plus 5 is less than 10 plus 7. That would be the example of an inequality. So make sure you're writing these things down in your own words so that you know what your notes say. Give an example of an equation or an inequality that is false, then explain how to make it true. Well, a false one would be 2, let's say 2 plus 3 times 4 equals 2 plus 3 times 4. Well, if I work this out, I would do PEMDAS rules. So I would do 3 times 4 first, which is 12, plus 2 is 14, equals, and this side I would have to do parentheses. So I'd have to do 2 plus 3, 5 times 4 is 20. We can see that that is not true. So here I would want to change this sign to be a less than sign. That would make this statement true at that point in time. Go ahead and give your homework a try. Your homework is page 2 in your blue book.